Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Uh-oh, the last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Hi everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Living Well with Janet, where we explore what it means to live well. I'm your host, Janet, a yogi, a meditator, plant-forward eater, and all-around wellness enthusiast. I'm also a second-generation Asian American woman, an experimenter, and a deep thinker. Join me in my conversations and contemplations on the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental aspects of living well. Hello, lovely human beings. Welcome back to another episode of Living Well with Janet. It is the summertime. In LA, the weather has been beautiful. The sunshine has been out. I just got back from a fun summer birthday cruise trip, so I'm feeling all of the summer vibes, and I thought I would dedicate an episode to my current summer wellness practices. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I'm into right now. First off, sardines. I know, you're kind of like, what? Why? Let me explain myself. Sardines are a really high nutrient food, and high nutrient foods are something that just overall I generally love. I try to, things like superfoods or things like that. I just like the idea that the food that we eat adds good things to our bodies. So sardines have been something that I've been on a huge kick through. Does that make sense? I've been on a huge sardine kick. Basically, because it is such a nutrient-packed food, it is also a high omega-3 fatty acid food. And I've been looking into foods that are not just nutrient-dense for overall physical health, but also for like brain health. So this is one of the reasons why I've been really into it. Let me go off and fangirl sardines for you right now and let you know some of the physical health benefits or the nutrition aspects of it. Just to preface that I'm not a certified nutritionist or a doctor, but these are some things that I found online and just aspects of knowledge that contribute to why I am such a fan of sardines. So yes, they are high in omega-3 fatty acids and also vitamin D, which is really good for heart health and strong bones. Women in general, I think it's important for us to think about like strong bone health, but I think especially for women in your middle age and as you age, like bone health is like a big topic and I think that you really should look out for. Omega-3 can also help lower blood pressure and increase insulin responsiveness. Sardines are also one of the best sources for vitamin D. One serving gives you like 30% of your daily requirement or your daily, the daily amount that you should have. They also contain a lot of vitamin B12, which helps with blood and nervous system health. Apparently, a 100-gram serving of canned sardines in oil contains about 4 times the recommended daily amount for adults. So, these little fish pack a powerful nutrient punch. And because they are a smaller fish, there generally is also a lower level of mercury and other toxins. So, when you think about like high fatty fish that are good for you, salmon and tuna are like really popular. But the thing is, they are larger fish. So the kind of thinking goes that the larger fish will eat the smaller fish. And therefore, if you eat the larger fish, you have an increased level of like mercury because it's like compounding amount. But if you're eating small, tiny fish, they have not eaten as much other fish. And so the general levels of mercury and toxins in their system is less. Generally, based on my research for maximum health, you should be eating sardines about 1 to 2 times per week, or maybe like some sort of fatty fish. And so that's kind of how I've been roughly practicing. I generally practice a plant-based diet, but I definitely make a strong effort to get in whether it's sardines or salmon or some sort of like fish 1 to 2 times a week, and or getting in eggs. I would say currently I'm probably having fish like 3 times a week and eggs maybe like 3 times a week as well. So I don't know, maybe something about the summer months, increased activity, whatever it is. I feel like I'm just craving a little bit more of fish and eggs. The other thing about sardines that's really special to me is that it's nostalgic. I grew up in a Chinese household, and in my younger years, my grandparents lived with us, and we would, on the weekends, often have, I guess, the version of like a Chinese brunch, which is like congee or rice porridge, and in Mandarin, they call it xi fan. So usually it's like this kind of watery rice, and then you have a bunch of these side dishes, like pickled items and small meat dishes and things. And one of the popular dishes that we would eat a lot were canned sardines. And there are these sardines that were like canned with this tomato sauce. So I have a lot of this like memories of that very pungent tomato flavor and the richness of the sardine flesh. Sorry if this is getting a little not violent, but maybe a little too detailed, but also specifically the texture of little sardines, the little bones. I have the memories of like grinding down on those brittle little bones. The thing though about sardines is, because it is such a small fish with small bones, you just eat it whole versus other fish where you would not eat the bones. And that actually means that you're getting more calcium. So that's my recollection of the flavor, but also like the texture of sardines and why it is so like nutrient dense. And when it comes to sardines, I sometimes will just eat it out of the can. Like I'll have maybe like a quinoa and like sweet potatoes and roasted vegetables. And then I add the sardines and I just kind of eat it out of the can. But a new recipe that I was playing with recently was putting them on toast. So I usually do like an avocado toast with an egg on top, but I've experimented with a new recipe where instead of the egg, I add sardines, and it's actually really, really good. I think I'm going to try to share that recipe on my Instagram. It's a great way to eat sardines. I definitely promote sardine avo toasts. Hi there, enjoying the show? If you like what you're hearing and want more, you can become an ABG bestie and get our new audio episodes ad-free, special discounts and early access to merch, shoutouts at the end of our episodes, and we're bringing back our Dear ABG series as exclusive monthly Q&A sessions just for our ABG besties. Sign up through the link in our show notes.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Another wellness practice that I've been getting into this summer is investing more in beauty things. So I used to be someone who never got regular manicures or pedicures. Like I would do them for special events, but I was much more of a DIY, paint my nails at home, or sometimes using the stick-on nails just for like, short events. But recently I have been trying to get into a more regular manicure, pedicure routine. Getting my nails and my toes done like either monthly or every month and a half. This is just another self-care practice that I think is very self-reaffirming and self-enforcing. It's getting in the habit of taking care of yourself on a regular basis and of gifting yourself that time to sit down and to get some pretty nails and to have someone touch my nasty feet and help me clean them because okay, sorry, this might be kind of gross, but I get like really dry skin on my feet, and getting a pedicure done on a monthly basis or, is a good thing for self-care. The other aspects of getting my nails done is, like I said, I'm usually a very DIY nails at home kind of person, and I usually also favor function over form. Is that right? Wait. Basically, I favor the practical over the fashionable or like the stylish or, I usually am more of a short nail girl. for functional purposes. Because, sometimes it's like hard to type in long nails. It's hard to like do basic tasks. It's just because your fingers are essentially longer and you have to adjust, right? But sometimes it's fun and it's good to favor beauty and form over function. And I will say that doing tasks like typing and picking things up and etc., it's easier if you get your nails professionally done, like if you do nail extensions that are professional versus doing just like the glue on or the stick on type, because the grip is just so much better. And it's been kind of a fun, interesting thing to challenge myself to try to learn to life with longer nails. I recently went to a nail box in downtown LA in the Arts District. And the kind of style right now, or one of the styles, is having a more like oval pointed, I think they call it like an almond shaped nail. And so I was asking them to kind of just like file down my real nail in that shape. And, she's trying it out and we realized that my real nails were too short. Like it just did not look good. It looked like stubby with a point, not cute. And so she recommended that I try what they call Gel X extensions. And I was like, you know what? Why not? For anyone who is maybe of my age, like there were these things called acrylics when I was growing up, and my cousin was into them, my sister was into it. I just never got into it. I think probably just because I always favored the practical. I liked short nails and I always just did them myself. But this was kind of a fun moment where I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. So I got the Gel X extensions and we were able to achieve this more like pointed, kind of between the oval and the almond pointed shape. And because they were professionally done, they were the perfect amount of like grip on my nails. So I felt like I could like pick things up and do things. Either way, just saying, playing with nails and playing with beauty can be a fun thing. Another beauty thing that I've been experimenting with is the laminated brow look. If you follow me on Instagram, I recently have been sharing in stories and posted a video of where I tried to do that. And playing with this look is significant to me for a couple of reasons. One is I have shared that, like my Asian mom, bless her heart, with all of the best intentions, will offer me feedback on my looks, especially because now I'm on like YouTube and things like that. And she does it all out of real, true desire for my well-being, right? She's like, like the thick brow look on women, it can make you look a little aggressive, maybe a little too strong. Like, I don't know, that like it gives the wrong impression to people. And my brows, as I've shared growing up, were kind of a source of insecurity because I have really thick brows. And before I started, threading them or tweezing them, they were just these two humongous, fat, large caterpillars on my face. Let me tell you, when I went through puberty, it was not cute. Not cute. I was pretty bad. But yeah, they used to be a source of insecurity for me. And in the recent years, because it's been fashionable to have thick brows, like I feel like I've been able to really embrace that and see it as like a strength. But there's still times when I get insecure about it, And so when this fashion kind of trend of not just having a thick brow, but of like the laminating brow, which is like the really, I don't know how to describe it. It's like you basically put like gel on your brow and then it gets spiky and feather-like. And it just makes the brow look even thicker and more pronounced and more intense. And I just wanted to have fun and try it. And there was definitely one inner voice that was like, oh my God, this is way too much. Why are you emphasizing a trait that is ugly and not good? And then on the other side, it was like, you know what? I want to rock this and I want to try it. Just kind of like what I was sharing before about trying different fashion styles. It was fun. So, learning to experiment with new things and to take what were previous insecurities and learn to see them as a strength. Another summer wellness practice, my morning lemon water. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I am a big fan of this and I practice it pretty much like all year round. But particularly this season, I've been adding herbal drops to my morning lemon water. Sometimes I add in a lion's mane liquid drop. Lion's mane is a type of mushroom that's supposed to be really good for cognitive health, brain health. I also have recently been adding elderberry herbal drops, which are really good for immune support. And then sometimes I've been adding in my Elix formula, which is a period or women's health supporting tincture formula, the founder of which I had on my podcast a couple of episodes ago, so you can check that out. But yeah, I think it's a great way to start your morning, and it's not just habit of ritual, but there's also a lot of physical health benefits to having lemon water in the morning. For one, you start your day off hydrating. And I will often have, sometimes it's not a full 8 ounces of warm water. Sometimes it's just like half a glass. But I will take that water, and when it's possible, I will have it warm. So sometimes I use the kettle. Sometimes I use my lazy favorite kitchen tool, which is the microwave, and I'll just nuke a glass of water for like 30 seconds. It gives it a little bit of warmth. And then I will add in my lemon. Sometimes I just put in half a lemon if it's a really big lemon, or sometimes a full lemon, just whatever amount is available and makes sense or that I'm feeling like. The other thing about lemon water is that it's very good for digestion. So when you have it first thing in the morning, it starts to kickstart your digestion, and it stimulates the liver to secrete bile, which helps to release toxins. So that's another kind of physical health benefit. It's also a great kick of vitamin C first thing in the morning. And another tip is that when I drink my lemon water, I try when possible to use a straw. And mostly because lemon is pretty high in acidic content. And so it's just a way to protect your teeth, because when you have too much acid, it can erode on your teeth. So when possible, use a straw. So I mentioned earlier that I've been adding elderberry herbal drops. Here are some of the reasons why I love elderberry. It's good for boosting your immune health and your immune system because it contains bioactive compounds, which may lower the risk of chronic disease. Once again, I am not a doctor. I've looked this up on the internet, but I think that if you follow health and wellness as a topic, you probably will hear and know about this. But elderberry it's good for immune health. It's also particularly good for respiratory health. It can help prevent or ease cold and flu symptoms. So if you're feeling any of that during the summertime or just any time year round, it can be helpful. Elderberry is also rich in antioxidants, which is good for lowering inflammation, cholesterol, and blood pressure. So it's just an overall really good, healthy item. Another thing that I thought was interesting is that elderberry is actually one of the most commonly used medicinal plants in the world. According to this Healthline article that I was reading, in folk medicine, the dried elderberry berries or the juice are actually used to treat influenza, infections, sciatica, headaches, dental pain, heart pain, nerve pain, etc. And the berries can actually be cooked, and you can make them into a juice or jams or chutneys, pies, or even elderberry wine. The flowers are often boiled with sugar to make a sweet syrup or infused into tea. But warning, the uncooked berries, leaves, bark, and roots of the elderberry plant contain chemicals, lectine and cyanide, which can cause nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So don't go out into your garden if you have elderberries and pick them and just eat them straight, is the lesson I'm taking away from that. Cooking the berries and seeds actually will remove the cyanide. But yes, if you have elderberry, get it from a formal, professionally made tincture or item like that. But it's also a really pretty color. Just this is as an aesthetic thing in the morning, right? I love looking at a beautiful clear glass of water, adding in some lemon juice, and then the elderberry syrup is a beautiful like fuchsia pink, and it's just sets all the good vibes in the morning, you know? And yeah, morning rituals, they ground you. So that has been one of my practices this summer.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrenta a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Another wellness practice that I have been putting into place this summer is experimenting with my fashion. In the past, one of the ways that I knew when I'm feeling kind of blah in life is when I don't get excited about putting on my clothes in the morning. Like it feels like a chore, and maybe what I end up choosing is just very like uniform-like, right? It's like whatever will get the job done. And yes, I know there are periods of our life where that's appropriate, you know, where you're focused on maybe getting things done and you don't want to think about what you're wearing or what you have to wear. But for me, as I shared on this podcast, on the show, and also on the main ABG podcast, one of my themes this year is to focus on play. And during this time where I'm going through a period of transition, I'm also kind of rethinking my identity and what it is that I want in my future. And so I feel that playing with my clothing and playing with fashion is one way that I'm able to kind of like work through that. So if you follow me on Instagram, I've been having a lot of fun recently with making videos. I've been using, different clothing services like Rent the Runway or Nuuly. I jump around and kind of try a bunch of them. And if you watch the ABG podcast on YouTube, you also notice like I've been having fun with just trying on different outfits, styles that maybe I would not normally wear. And the thing that is also really great about playing with fashion is that it really can increase your confidence. When you try on something that maybe you thought you couldn't quite pull off and you end up liking it, either other people give you positive feedback or comments, or maybe you just like really feel good in that outfit or in that accessory or in that style, it can be such a great confidence boost. But it's also helpful in knowing what doesn't work, right? That's part of experimentation. So I think experimenting with fashion and trying on styles that maybe don't work for you can be great as well, because it gets you in the habit of not taking things too seriously, being okay with a success and failure loop that is so core to experimentation. So it's overall just a good practice because experimentation makes you okay with the success failure loop, which is something that can translate into other aspects of your life. The thing with experimenting with style and fashion is that it can also help exercise your creative instincts. Right? So you learn to, when you're trying things and you figure out what works and what doesn't, what you like, what you don't like, you strengthen that muscle of your creative instinct, which is also a skill that can translate into other aspects of your life. Another wellness practice of this summer that I add in my morning routine is using a cold jade face roller. So there's this thing that's been going around TikTok and Instagram that is called cortisol face. And basically, it's referring to the puffiness that you see in someone's face when they are in elevated states of stress. Basically, cortisol is a primary stress hormone that is made by our adrenal glands. According to this article I read on Vogue, cortisol is the primary stress hormone made by our adrenal glands. I read this on Vogue, but it's also, I think, pretty common knowledge that you can trace from other medical or wellness sources. And the thing is, it's normal for us to have elevated cortisol levels at certain points in our life. It's that saying that there are types of stress that are good stress and there are types of stress that are bad stress. It's very normal to experience stress in different states of your life. So at any point in our lives, it's normal that we're going to experience spikes in our cortisol. But the problem is that if you are in constant states of stress, your cortisol levels remain elevated. If you have high levels of cortisol, it can actually be an indication of an underlying health problem. But also, if you're just subjecting yourself to a lot of stress, it could be that your cortisol levels are elevated and it can actually cause your face to swell. And the scientific description or explanation for this is that elevated levels of cortisol can cause increased fat deposits in your cheeks and even also your shoulders and your neck area. So when you are in chronic states of emotional or physical stress, it can cause this cortisol levels to spike and it can cause cortisol face or puffy face. Of course, addressing stress on a sustainable level with a healthy diet, physical activity, sleep, coping habits, all of that is important. But another thing that I guess this would be one of my coping habits is having a morning ritual or routine is using this cold face roller. It's this, I have this like jade face roll that you can just like get off of Amazon anywhere. And I stick it in the freezer. And so in the morning, I'll have my lemon water with my elderberry syrup and I'll grab out the face roller and I will just, roll it on my face, on my cheeks, and then on my forehead, and then on my eyes. And I just do this for like 1 to 3 minutes and it just feels super cooling, very soothing. Because it's cold, it also, I feel like it helps me wake up a bit in the morning. And it's a nice self-care routine to have in the AM. You could also do it at night, I guess. But yes, cold face rollers. I definitely am a proponent of those. The last summer wellness practice that I want to talk about is spirituality. I've shared on this show and on the main ABG show in the past that I have an interest in astrology. I have visited psychics. I do sometimes dabble in Buddhist thought and things like that. I think spiritual practices, when you're going through times of change or uncertainty, can be really helpful. When you're seeking answers and you're looking for inspiration. Like, I don't ever look at astrology, psychics, or even religion as like the only thing that I would look at for what I think is my purpose in life or what the meaning of life is. But I often like exploring them in combination. And I think that it's the totality of all of those things that help me draw my own answers. And recently I've attended church sermons a couple of times. And I'm someone who kind of considers myself, I guess, agnostic, or I consider myself spiritual, and I don't ascribe to any certain religion. But I think it's helpful, and I love being amidst different practices because I think there's so much to learn. And like I said, it's the drawing from all of these resources that then help me come up with my own answer. But yeah, I think spiritual practices and just spending time exploring this aspect of life and of myself can be really helpful because it also forces you to think about something greater than yourself. So if you're going through times of uncertainty or times of change, it can be helpful in decreasing your ego, getting out of your own head and focusing on yourself so much. And it also helps to share some of the responsibility in life with something that's outside of yourself. If you have a tendency to be really hard on yourself, it can help you feel not alone in sharing the burden, but also the beauty of life and its challenges. So yeah, spiritual practices have been a part of my summer wellness routine. Thanks for listening in on this episode. I would love to hear about your summer wellness practices. So please either leave them in the comments if you're listening to this on Spotify or wherever you're hearing this through your podcasting platforms, or find me on Instagram and DM me and share. I want to know what people are doing to take care of themselves this summer. Once again, this is your host, Janet. I can also be found on Asian Boss Girl, the podcast for the modern day Asian American woman with my good friends Helen and Mel, who are also hosting their own shows, which you can catch on this same feed, new episodes every Tuesday. You can follow ABG on Instagram at Asian Boss Girl and me, Janet, at Janet W. That's Janet, the word double, and the letter U.